Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. My name is Hunter on this Friday, June 28th, and the weather pattern this weekend and into next week will be characterized by heat and humidity that will be excessive across the United States, additional rounds of severe weather, and a formidable tropical system that looks to develop in the Caribbean as we go through the weekend and into next week, with even potentially two systems to watch in the Caribbean. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that at the end of the video. So if you are new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel here at Weather on the Go. We cover North America, including Southern Canada, the United States, the tropics. Give the video a like down below if you do like today's weather forecast after the video is over. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. We'll get to those later on after the video. So looking here at where the ridge of high pressure is, starting off here today, this Friday afternoon, we have more of a zonal flow across the upper levels of the atmosphere, which basically means the jet stream winds are from west to east across North America here, especially the contiguous United States. You have the heat bottled up to the south, and then you have the cooler weather bottled up to the north across portions there of the northern United States. So with the heat to the south, there's no surprise there are extensive heat headlines with the orange heat advisories from Kansas southward toward Texas and eastward at times into the southeast. In the pink here from Tulsa down to Oklahoma City and into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, those are excessive heat warnings. And then out west in the Sacramento Valley there in California, parts of Death Valley there, we have more of those excessive heat watches. So looking at this afternoon, high temperatures, another scorcher it will be across portions of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Those are with those widespread heat advisories and even those excessive heat warnings that stretch from Tulsa back to Oklahoma City and then southward to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And looking at those heat index values this afternoon, those could be pushing up into the 110 and 115 degrees Fahrenheit range from portions of Kansas down into Oklahoma, Texas, and then still pretty hot to the east, not as excessive, but still those upper 90s to low 100s with the heat index all across the southeast and then back to the west as well. So with all the heat building, no surprise, over the northern periphery of this ridge yesterday, we did see a lot of severe weather from Montana down into Wyoming here into the western and central Dakotas. A lot of wind reports in the blues, some scattered hail reports in the green, and we actually did see 3 tornado reports there, primarily in southwestern North Dakota yesterday. There's the storm energy as we go through the afternoon and evening here for today on your Friday, extending from the Midwest down through the plains, and this is fueled by the heat and humidity that we are seeing. So the day 1 outlook from the Storm Prediction Center highlights a level 2 slight risk in the yellow from northeastern Colorado into Nebraska, parts of northern Kansas, getting into the Hawkeye State of Iowa there, including the Des Moines area, and then back down to the south toward Kansas City and into parts there of the Jefferson City area in Missouri. So we're going to keep an eye on that. The main hazards here will be damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour, especially in this brown yellow shaded color here. But where you see these black dashed lines from northeast Colorado into southwestern Nebraska, northern Kansas, there could be a few storms in the mix there that produce hurricane force wind gusts over 75 miles per hour. So we'll have to keep tabs on that area. And there could be some quarter size or maybe slightly larger at times hailstones in the brown yellow shaded color there in the risk. And we do have a tornado threat in a couple different areas, a 2% shading up there into eastern North Dakota near the Grand Forks region into western Minnesota. But the primary area of concern is from Omaha southward toward Topeka and then eastward toward Kansas City and St. Joseph, Missouri, where we have more of that 5% shading for tornadoes. The Des Moines area, La Crosse, Springfield there in Missouri, back toward Wichita, Goodland, Kansas, North Platte, all you guys are in that 2% chance for tornadoes as well. So let's look at what the radar could look like this afternoon. We have some ongoing shower and storm activity across northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin. Been very wet here across the Chicagoland area, the Davenport Quad Cities this morning. That will continue at times into the afternoon. A little bit of a dry slot behind that will lead to some destabilization of the atmosphere. The sun may poke out a little bit, and that will increase our storm energy. And then by this evening, a broken line of some strong thunderstorms may develop from southwest Wisconsin back through the heart of the Hawkeye State there toward the Des Moines area, and then back here in toward portions of Nebraska and Kansas. Additional supercells developing out in the western plains this evening. And then as we go into early Saturday morning, all of this continues to move slowly off to the east. And notice the storm coverage during the evening and overnight hours will not be terribly widespread unless you live in more of Illinois and Missouri. Out in the plains, we really don't have a lot of storm coverage here. So if you do get under a thunderstorm, those would likely be supercell structures that could produce all modes of severe weather, damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes. And remember, the damaging wind threat could be hurricane force in some of these areas. Looking at the rainfall totals through Saturday morning commute, you can see the heaviest rains across the Great Lakes region, parts of the Northeast Ohio Valley, back through portions of the Ozarks of Missouri. That's where the more concentrated area of rain has been this morning, and that will continue through the day here at times through your Friday afternoon, evening, and overnight. So some of these areas here, especially in northern Missouri, parts of the Illinois Valley, eastern Iowa, southern Wisconsin, lower Michigan, northeast Indiana, and then northern Ohio. And then that'll actually fishtail over into portions of Pennsylvania and western New York. We could be seeing over 1 to 2 inches of rain through the Saturday morning time frame. And this could lead to a marginal slight risk for flash flooding. So some isolated flash flooding events may be possible here through Saturday. Heading into the weekend, there is the ridge of high pressure, basically seeing that zonal flow across the periphery, the northern periphery of this ridge. Heat will continue across the south. There we go. Take it or leave it. You have extreme heat and humidity across the southeast. Much of we've been seeing lately here in June. That will fishtail back there toward the southern plains and then out west, but the cold front and trough to the north will bring our temperatures down below normal, so more of a fall to even spring type of feel to the north across the Dakotas, parts of Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin, and even up here into southeastern Canada. Let's look at that. Saturday morning, here are your low temperatures. Pretty mild there in the east. There's that cold front. You can clearly see it from the Twin Cities back there toward North Platte. North and west of that, behind the cold front, temperatures will be delightful into the 40s and 50s. Ahead of that, a little bit mild there into the 60s and 70s to start off the day on Saturday. Here are your afternoon highs for Saturday afternoon. Again, another scorcher down here to the south. Temperatures in the 90s and triple digits. Clear-cut cold front here from the Green Bay area back through Des Moines, Omaha, and then back into Goodland, Kansas. Behind that, temperatures Saturday afternoon, delightful 60s and 70s. Ahead of that, the heat will continue. Here are your heat index values for Saturday afternoon. We're back into the 100 to 110 range across the south. So make sure to stay hydrated. Make sure if you do venture outdoors to find shaded areas, or even better, an air-conditioned building for a period of time to take breaks in here because of the heat. Then as we go into Sunday morning, cold front will continue to progress further east. There's all the heat building across the south. We are starting off in the low to mid 80s, by the way, across the south and southeast. So a higher springboard of which to start. Sunday afternoon, we have more of those 90s and triple digits to the south, and more of those unfortunate heat index values into the 100 and 110 degree Fahrenheit range. But look at the north. We have a lot of 60s and 70s up there. Beautiful weather for the weekend. Definitely take advantage of that. Now, while we do have that transition between the heat to the north that is going to be scoured out by the cold front, we are actually going to see some severe weather in that transition. So we have the cold front from Green Bay down here through the Davenport Quad Cities and into Kansas City Saturday afternoon. This could lead to some isolated and scattered events of severe weather, with the highest coverage across Ohio, northern West Virginia, parts of northwestern Maryland, west central portions there of Pennsylvania, and including the Poconos region there as well, and then up into the western part of New York State. Some of that severe weather, though, could fishtail back there into the southern plains and even the front range of the Rockies. We'll keep a close eye on that. Saturday during the day, notice the coverage not very high here. It's isolated, it's widely scattered. That will continue into Saturday night. So not anything terribly organized, but we do have to watch out for damaging winds, large hail, and a couple of tornadoes. Then that cold front progresses off to the east, pulling down that cooler Canadian air mass with that high pressure system to the north. as we go into Sunday, and that will lead to more severe weather. The East Coast here, the I-95 corridor, places like Portland, Maine, Boston, Hartford, down through New York City, including Long Island, Trenton, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Baltimore, all the way down through Washington, D.C., and even Roanoke, Virginia. And then another storm system here across portions of the north. We could be seeing into places like Montana and the Dakotas more severe weather, and that could extend down into Colorado. So here's Sunday. We have scattered storms throughout the day, and then as we go into the Sunday night time frame, scattered storms across the East Coast as that cold front exits the country. And then as we go in towards Sunday night, a new storm system up here will produce more severe weather with supercell thunderstorms in eastern Montana, western Dakotas, and Wyoming on Sunday night. Here are the rainfall totals for the weekend, and you can see few and far between, not anything terribly organized, but you can clearly see where the rainfall will be. Pretty dry to the north this weekend as high pressure works in from Canada, bringing in that cooler air mass, but a more importantly, dry air mass. We need to dry out across the upper Midwest. A lot of saturated soil. Farm fields are flooding. Ditches have been flooding, and river flooding is a big deal as well. So that is a good idea to have that rainfall hold off through the weekend to get a couple dry days in there. Next week comes along, that ridge that we've been seeing sprawling out all across the south will continue and actually build a little stronger for the southeast between Monday, July 1st through Friday, July 5th, and this takes you right through the 4th of July there on Thursday. And again, here's your temperature anomalies next week, well above normal across the north from Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, eastward toward the southeast, and a little bit cooler on the crest of that ridge, over the top there, the northern periphery, across the northern plains, the upper Midwest, and into the Great Lakes. And it's also going to be where we have more active weather next week. So it's cooler, but that is because we have more cloud cover and shower storm opportunities, and some of these could be severe and also produce, unfortunately, more heavy rain in an area that really doesn't need a lot of heavy rain here, at least in a short amount of time. So looking at that, you can see well above normal precipitation anomalies for that 5-day period between Monday and Friday next week. Here we go, walking you through that on Monday, July 1st. New storm system on Sunday across the Rockies will move across the plains and into the upper Midwest Monday. This could lead to some severe weather. Storm Prediction Center's Day 4 outlook has a slight risk. This is a level 2 out of 5 on the scale from the Dakotas, western Minnesota, and Iowa down there into Nebraska. This could get expanded or upgraded to an enhanced risk as we get closer. Tuesday, we have more storm energy as we go through that time frame as a cold front moves in over the top there across the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes region, closer to Lake Michigan. There is currently on the Day 5 outlook nothing highlighted by the Storm Prediction Center, but I wouldn't be surprised if a marginal or slight risk did get introduced on this day across parts of the upper Midwest or western Great Lakes toward Lake Michigan as we do get closer with some of that storm energy. Wednesday, more of a diffuse day here, kind of a popcorn day of showers and storms popping up really anywhere across the country. And then as we go into Thursday, this is the 4th of July. It looks pretty wet across the north here. So if you are in the north, make sure that you have the umbrella handy for any 4th of July festivities, and make sure to have a radar app handy as well, as showers and storms will be roaming the landscape. Then as we go into Friday, July 5th, yeah, more of the same, pretty wet across the north and the northeast, pretty dry and hot and humid across the south and the southeast. Here's the rainfall corridor through next week, Monday, July 1st through Friday, July 5th. This also does include, by the way, Thursday, the 4th of July, and you can see from the Dakotas into Nebraska, parts of Kansas, much of the Midwest there, the Ohio Valley stretching over to the Mid-Atlantic, going to be pretty wet underneath that, hot, humid, and dry as we get closer to the Gulf of Mexico. And looking at the latest drought monitor here that was released on Thursday yesterday, we do need some work on some drought. We are abnormally dry with some pockets of moderate drought developing there in the Ohio Valley and back in the lower Midwest, so we can work on that. We just don't need a lot of heavy rain all at once. We are developing drought pretty rapidly here across the Mid-Atlantic coast and down here into the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida. I think the tropical weather season will account for this pretty well, but I am kind of concerned more about New Mexico, West Texas, and out here into the Rockies. I think those areas will be pretty dry heading into July, so I think those areas need some work with the drought. Now, turning over to the tropical weather update, the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida has 3 investigative areas here that they are watching. The first area that we've been keeping tabs on over the past few days is over the Bay of Campeche here in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. 30% chance of development. It's really running out of time here as it is moving ever closer to the east coast of Mexico. This will be producing some heavy flooding rains into the east coast there of Mexico and even central Mexico over that next couple of days through the weekend and going all the way through Tuesday, July 2nd. Rainfall totals in eastern Mexico. I know it's very hilly terrain and mountainous out here. We could be seeing over a foot of rain. So runoff from that could lead to some flash flooding, and then down into Central America, a few inches of rain will be possible in some of those areas as well. Now, an area that we have been also watching the past couple of days and we're more confident in is a newly named storm, which is likely, if not certain, to be Beryl here at this point. The National Hurricane Center giving it a 100% certainty that this is going to develop over the next couple of days, and then right on that, the heels of Beryl could be Chris that could develop. It has a 30% chance of development as it moves through the MDR and in towards the Lesser Antilles. Let's look here at the sea surface temperature anomalies. Currently pretty warm out here in the main development region, but even warmer is the Caribbean and into the Gulf of Mexico. So where this system or these two systems are going, Beryl and what could be named Chris, is going to be going in toward an environment that is very ripe for at least sea surface temperatures. Now, looking here at this weekend, there would be Beryl as it moves a little closer to the Lesser Antilles there. And then as we go through late weekend, Sunday and into Monday, sometime in there, it'll cross over the Lesser Antilles and stay mainly over the open waters of the Eastern Caribbean, south of Puerto Rico and south of the Dominican Republic. And then a lot of the ensemble members, most of them, I'd say 90% of the European ensemble guidance has this continuing over the open waters of the Western Caribbean, south of Cuba, as we go in towards later next week, say that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame, while a couple members move that over portions there toward the Bahamas, and a couple other members moving it further southwest towards Central America. Either way, we are keeping a tabs on this as we do go through the next week. And then looking here at the Eastern Pacific, it is very quiet right now. It continues to be very quiet so far this hurricane season. We'll continue to watch this area as well, as the National Hurricane Center has the next 7 days very quiet there, but we'll keep tabs on that all season long for you folks. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for subscribing to the channel and supporting as well. I really appreciate it. If you did like today's weather forecast, drop a like down below. Leave any comments, questions, concerns below. I'll get to those after the video. Also, subscribe to the channel as we cover North America, including Southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics here on this channel. My name is Hunter with Weather on the Go, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Friday out there.